We live in a twilight world. Alright, let's do a quick recording. I probably sound different than I usually do on other recordings. It's because I'm using my earphones and obviously the little microphone that's on the earphones. So yeah, man, I probably sound quite different. Usually when I'm recording in the car, I just have my iPad, sitting over the steering wheel, and I just record. And I don't know what it is. I think maybe the iPad is cancelling out background noise or something, but it makes me sound very nasally. And I think this is a good thing because it doesn't really sound like my real voice. And the last thing I want to do is give, the jinn who control the internet my voice to mimic and duplicate. Yeah? Because that's what they're doing. Every time you do a recording, you're giving the jinternet intel about yourself. You're giving them, of your own free will, you're giving them your voice. Now, a lot of you will probably say, well, Les, what about you? You're doing that. Yeah, I think, me, I'm a bit more aware of what's going on. And, as I've said, like so many times, when back in 2021, when I, for the first time ever in my life, set up a social media account, I knew what I was getting into, and I set the intention, I'm going to do this with the purpose and goal of trying to get people to walk away from it. So that's my burden. I've got a big pair of shoulders that can carry this. But for the average person that is doing all these YouTube videos and recordings, they're not aware of that. They're falling right into the double cross system, totally unaware of what they're doing and being a part of the problem. So yeah, man. Anyway, back to a point is I like the fact that the recordings don't really sound like my voice, because I was doing that classic thing where if by accident I accidentally heard a recording back, I usually don't listen to stuff back. I would hear my voice and think, fuck, that don't sound like me whatsoever. Like, the voice in your head compared to the voice in your recording. But it turns out that doesn't actually sound like me. I've had people I know listen to it and go, man, that don't sound like you. One of my friends listened to a recording and he was pretty much saying, like, is that even you? So yeah, it's good that the recordings are different from my real life voice. This is a good thing. Yeah. Anyway, let's get on to what I want to talk about. This photo here. You probably recognize this photo. It's from that incident when, the Allied Forces, or ISAF as they were called, International Security of Afghanistan Force, pulled out of Afghanistan, right? It's one of Joe Biden's big moves. I think it's like his, technically his second year. It must have been, because it's 2021. I think Joe Biden came into power, 2020? So yeah, they pulled out of Afghanistan very abruptly, right? Now, I'd only just joined social media back in 2021. Yeah, in the summer, I think it was July. And this happened in about August, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it was very early on, right? And this was one of my first ever big bullseye moments, right? Because I was the first guy, and you can go and check this for yourself, I was the first guy to point out the 9/11. Now, when I woke up that morning, and you've got to remember, I was very new to Twitter and how Twitter works, so I didn't really understand the ins and outs of Twitter. I didn't really understand this level of conspiracy theory and what a lot of the conspiracy theorists, influencers and truthers are like. But anyway, I woke up that morning, I've seen it, it was World Stage Theatre, it was on the news everywhere, and over on Twitter, the conspiracy truther crowd were arguing about whether it was a CGI plane or an inflatable plane. And then I came along and I drew a red circle around it and I said, you guys are missing the point here. They're putting the 9/11 into your subconscious. And also, if you add up the numbers are 33. So what happened next was every Tom, Dick and Mohammed in a conspiracy truther world obviously copied my tweet and then passed it off as their own. And, you know, it was like watching a virus spread, right? Because the lazy bastards didn't even bother to like get their own photo and put their own, you know, pen mark around it. They just screenshotted mine. So my screenshot of my red pen I'd put around, you know, when you do a screenshot, you have the option of using like a pen and marking up the picture, was going viral, right? I could see it here, there and everywhere. Egotistically, I was quite happy with myself because I was the first one and I got there ahead of all these, you know, established synchro mystics and stuff that were here years before me. So, you know, the competitive side to me was like, yes, I beat them. And it was also like watching a shockwave go through the conspiracy world. And then, you know, over 48 hours, you know, watching people copy my tweet and then those tweets getting retweeted, and then big like conspiracy podcasters and that would then quote that tweet and say, wow, this is amazing. I mean, the other side of that is very sinister, right? Because they're stealing my work and not crediting me. So, you know, I learned very early on that the conspiracy truther crowd are just a bunch of rats with no honour, yeah? All they care about is being popular and getting likes and shares. They've got no interest in raising people up, right? Because I was quite new. You'd think they would say like, look at this guy. He's the first one to spot it and blah blah blah. But they never did. All they wanted to do was be the one to try and make out that they were the first to spot it. Very sinister, very corrupt. Most of you have probably realised that now about the conspiracy truther world. That's what they're like. They've got no interest in general truth seeking. And they lack honour, man. They've just got no honour. So yeah, that was my first real big hit. So I'm sure most of you remember this this video. It was just here, there, and everywhere. That was of that week. That was the World Stage Theatre of that week. This plane was sort of like slowly going down the runway. All these guys were kind of running next to it. It did obviously look very CGI, very green screen. They're all smiling and laughing. And then as the plane took off, people were clinging to the wheels. This is a Globemaster. And then as the plane was in the distance, you saw little dots falling off, implying that some of these guys were falling out of the sky to their deaths. Yeah, in my opinion, it's a bit of both. Yeah, it's just an illusion operation that we're only seeing via the Black Mirror, you know, pixels on the screen. That, of course, we're then only processing via our mind. And when you think about it, it's just a bunch of electrical sparks going off inside our brain. So it's a combination of both, right? They wanted to double cross everyone, right? So it's a CGI version of an inflatable plane. And yeah, it was a CGI plane taken off with CGI people running next to it, green screen, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, it was all about slipping that 9/11 into people's subconscious. Because, and apologies if I've told this story like many times, but when I said to myself, oh, okay, I'm going to go and sign up to Twitter with the intention of, you know, trying to like inspire people to get off the internet, my angle was I was a numerology guy. I was going to think, right, well, not many people are covering numerology, so I'm going to cover numerology within World Stage Theatre. For example, like when you see a story like on YouTube from the mainstream media, it will be, you know, 3 minutes and 33 seconds long and so on. 3 minutes and 11 seconds long. 2 minutes and 22, you know, it's all numerology spell casting. Now, I don't know exactly how it works and what it is. My best guess is they're slipping numerology, like spell casting, into the minds of like the Westworld robots that make up most of this world, right? How do you program them? Well, firstly, you've got the constant flashing and colours coming through the Black Mirror, you know, the blue light, and then secondly, there's the fiction anywhere it's being projected. But another layer to that is this embedded numerology that might not have an effect on you and me, but the vast majority of these projections walking around are Westworld robots, and you need to put some sort of coding into their head to make them take part in a new fiction. This is how you do it. That's not a fact. That's just an opinion, a guess. I don't know. But yeah, man, that was my first big hit. Like I said, man, it was, for me, it was like an egotistical thing. I was proud of myself at being the first one. And now now I say I'm the first one. I don't actually know how would I know that's true. I was only just watching Twitter from where I was at. There might have been a guy that spotted it before me and didn't get the recognition. But I know that the viral screenshot everyone was using was my screenshot of the red pen circled around it. Now I'm sure this is happening every second of every minute of every hour of every day on the internet. There's some guy out there in a similar situation to me, is the tip of the spear that keeps getting things right. Or not, actually, let's not say right, that's not how we want to look at things, but is the first one to point something out, or the first one to highlight something, and then all the other truthers and conspiracy theorists copy it and get the credit. I reckon that's happening all over the place. You know, when I covered the wildfires in Greece, I mean, when was that? Back in 2023? I used the term burn back better, right? And then when I spoke about the wildfires that happened later on in Hawaii, you know, I kind of now had a lot of experience about wildfires because I covered the wildfires in Rhodes. Rhodes is a Greek island. Allegedly 20,000 people got evacuated. You know, in Europe, I don't know about America, but they made a big deal about it. They tried to make it as climate change. Yes, there were wildfires, but they weren't as crazy as the mainstream media had projected, right? Yeah, they had projected a false perception of reality. A false perception of reality is an illusion warfare. I went there within 24 hours. I got there and there was nothing happening. Yet the mainstream media was still making out like the island was on fire and that people were getting burnt to death or at risk of getting burnt to death when it all calmed down and finished. And when I got to sort of talking to people, the general conspiracy theory was that the EU wanted to build a giant solar panel farm in the middle of Rhodes, and all of the residents on Rhodes voted no. Yeah, they put it to a vote. People voted no. Yeah, the locals and the residents. So the conspiracy theory was that they burnt down half of that part of the island so they could then turn around and say, well, look, it's burnt down. We might as well build this solar farm. Now that hasn't actually happened. That was just me talking to people and getting a background story. But anyway, I came up with the term burn back better. Now with the recent LA fires, I noticed ridiculous amounts of podcasts with the title Burn Back Better, right? But not one person referenced me, the guy that in-depth covered wildfires 2 years ago. Now I'm not saying that I own the term Burn Back Better, but you know, it's weird when, I don't know, it's weird that my topics get brought up but my name never does. I don't know, it's something I've noticed, and I'm sure people who have been in this game have noticed it a long time. I'm sure that's why a lot of people just walk away. They're sick of watching the content get stolen and taken, right? So, what was I going to say? So I think, you know, either these, and that's in general why I don't like the conspiracy crowd. I don't want to be anything near these guys because they're not very honest. And I think either they're just generally just watching us people who are at the tip of the spear, our content, and just taking it, or they're using these chat GDP AI bot fucking whatever things, and they're saying to the bots, or they're prompting it saying, hey, I want to do a podcast on wildfires. What do you suggest? Write me a script. Write me a good bullet point write me some good bullet points for a podcast. And then the AI, chat GDP, whatever one you use, the AI has worked out who the real ones are out here in the matrix, because people like me and other ones like yourselves, we're, freely putting up our data on the internet. The AI is then going to us. Out of all the internet, they're just going to the real ones, amalgamating the content, and then taking it back to these podcasters. And the podcasters probably don't know that they're stealing content, and they just think AI has just magically conjured up a script out of thin air via data on the internet. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I think I'll end this recording here. We live in a twilight world. No friends at dusk.